And we are back with another news video. We start with an update on Logan Paul, as Mr. Logan Paul is expected to be the feature. Logan Paul is expected to be featured in not Night of Champions. He's not expected to be at Night of Champions, but he is expected, however, to be a part of both Money in the Bank and SummerSlam, which it is very likely that his Money in the Bank match will lead to his match at SummerSlam or something of that nature. Which again means that Logan did re-sign, which I don't think anybody is surprised by. I think everybody expected him to re-sign with WWE. But the fact of the matter is, there is a rumor that Logan Paul could be a part of Money in the Bank. I think from the Shelton Benjamin standpoint, of somebody who isn't afraid to do crazy shit in the match, Logan Paul would fit right in the Money in the Bank match. It is just a question of, those within WWE or those fans within the wrestling community griping with or being fickle about the idea of Logan being in Money in the Bank. But what I would say is, if that means Logan Paul is going to be in a qualifying match and should be in a qualifying match, that would give him his first regular programming match. His first match not on pay-per-view. And it would also give the people in attendance the rare opportunity to see somebody like Logan Paul compete. Because typically Logan Paul does not compete on non-pay-per-view television. So there's that, but also the idea of, if he does compete in a qualifying match and wins the qualifier, then technically there's no reason why you should be angry about the fact of Logan Paul occupying a spot in the match, because on a technicality, if he wins the qualifier, he deserves to be in the match. And would he benefit from being in a gimmick match? Yeah, I do. I don't fault his ability or discount his ability in the wrestling ring. He's, amazingly athletic and unfairly gifted in the wrestling ring. But the fact of the matter is, if he earns his way into the match, he deserves to be a part of it, whether he's an active wrestler or a part-timer. Either way, he deserves to be in the match. And this year's Money in the Bank will be special for the WWE World title, because with the World Heavyweight title being an actual championship again, it would give somebody the winner of the Money in the Bank, the opportunity to challenge for a world title and not challenge Roman Reigns. But Logan Paul is set to be a part of Money in the Bank and SummerSlam, which, again, his SummerSlam match will likely be decided at or soon after Money in the Bank. So be prepared for that, I guess, is the best way to put it. Now we move over to the WWE's media rights deal, as I spoke about in the previous news video. The idea of WWE moving Raw or adding a third hour to SmackDown, and me saying that there's a reason why WWE should not consider that. And the reason being is that, according to Nick Khan, WWE are considering the idea of potentially adding another show once the current media rights deals are settled, and going that route as far as adding another show. It would be better off from the WWE's perspective if they kept current programming on the days that they're already on, because it would give them the opportunity to structure a new show within those days, as opposed to building a new show around Raw or SmackDown and having to rebuild Raw. Because hypothetically, if Raw moved to a different day, you're going to have to rebuild the brand identity of Monday Night Raw, because Raw's been on Mondays for the last 30 years, And you're gonna sit here and tell me that after 30 years of it being on the same day, it's gonna be on a different day now, and you're expecting people to still watch it, even though it's gonna be on a different day. It's like people will still watch it, but you would need to drill home the idea. This show is not on Raw. This show is not on Monday anymore. You know, when it would be like, what? Raw's not on Monday? What? Since when? You know, it would be easier to have Raw there as the fixture of WWE's programming, building a new show or building SmackDown. But also, also with the brand split, you're not supposed to have Raw and SmackDown intersect, but, it's not the same as it was. It's not the same as it was, so, expectation versus reality. But, the fact of the matter is, it would be easier to build a new show based off the fixture that Raw is than moving Raw and building a new show. You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion. Speaking of WWE's media rights deals, though, WWE does seem to be making headway with. WWE does seem to be making headway with the NBC Universal, but may not be. It has not been said that they have not made headway with Fox, but it seems like they're making more headway with NBC Universal than with Fox. But also to say that WWE does not have other suitors, there are said to be other suitors within the market for WWE, other than just NBC and Fox. And one of them actually may be Amazon. I, for one, still think that WWE going the route of moving Raw off of USA Network or SmackDown off of regular programming and moving it to a streaming service would be a mistake. I think, if anything, if you want a show on a streaming service, then make a new show and put it on a streaming service. Do not put one of your major programs on a streaming service, because the major programs are what help you build pay-per-views. And if not everybody watches your programs, on the streaming service, then not everybody's going to watch your pay-per-views. Because not everybody's going to know what the heck's going on, and they're not going to want to pay for the network to watch the pay-per-views. But that is also something that we will talk about down the road as far as the network and the merger with the UFC. What does that mean for WWE programming and the WWE and the network? I'm very confused with that one, but either way. But I'm not saying Amazon. I don't want to see Amazon get in on WWE's, streaming, the media rights deal. It's good for WWE, the more people that are involved. But the fact of the matter is, I think WWE would be better off if they work together on a different deal than the weekly programming, and maybe that it was, like, a new show, like maybe the Lucha Libre show that there was conversation about, or, a different show of that variety. You know what I mean? I think WWE would be better off going that route as opposed to looking to make a new show. As opposed to moving one of their established weekly programs to a streaming service. I think that would be a mistake. But also, speaking of the media rights deal, there was conversation that Nick Khan spoke about at a recent press conference about the consideration of WWE adding a more edgy effect to the third hour of Raw, which has been something that has been conversed about in the past, but is something that I think WWE would have to clear with their new media rights partners, and maybe something that they're considering based on where they go as far as the media rights. But I would also say, or dare I say, that it would help keep people around if they knew that the first 2 hours were one way and the second hour and the third hour was a different way. Because also, how many people within this fixed demographic of WWE are still watching at 10 o'clock on a school night? That's just my opinion. But that's just my opinion. I think WWE could get away with making the third hour Raw a little bit edgier. But again, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying blood or the way it was with the Attitude Era. I'm just saying more of a different feel to create a different identity, sort of like they did with when Raw was 2 hours and they were in the War Zone, where the first hour was normal Raw and the second hour was the War Zone. They would change the broadcast team, they would change the feel. It was a little bit more edgy in your face, and they could do the exact same thing with. They could do the exact same thing now as they did back then. But also, I just want to point out that those close to CM Punk believe he will be at AEW Collision and that things are settled between AEW and CM Punk to the point where Punk will be a part of Collision. So that's something worth noting as far as the June the 17th. But as far as May the 30th and the start of Season 4 of Dark Side of the Ring, there is a reason why Dark Side did not go with... there's a reason why Dark Side did not go with certain editions of the show. And Evan Husney talked about the reason why Mike Awesome and Scott Hall's topics will not be addressed. And it's a variety of not having the right, not being able to secure the right people to come in and be talking heads during the documentary. And just the fact that, well, basically, Mike Awesome, the subject of Mike Awesome being included in Season 4 was apparently leaked, and they just went a different direction because of the fact that it was leaked. Where it was more, I would guess that maybe it was more of a rumored name, and maybe they went with Adrian Adonis instead of Mike Awesome. In my opinion, I prefer the idea of learning about Adrian Adonis than learning about Mike Awesome. No offense to Mike Awesome, but I think there's more of an untold story with Adrian Adonis. And also, Mike Awesome could be in Season 5. Knock on wood, if a Season 5 does actually get picked up. But also, I would say go back to, if I went back to what I said about WWE not moving to a streaming service, with the likelihood that Vice TV is done after the network filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy earlier this month, I think Darkseid would be a perfect fixture on a streaming service down the road if and when Vice TV does decide to sell assets like Darkseid, Dark Side of the Ring, Dark Side of the 90s, Dark Side of football, Dark Side of this, Dark Side of that, that if they do decide to sell assets, then the Dark Side series would be better off being on a different being in a different area, and would be the perfect show on a streaming service because it's perfect binge-worthy content, in my opinion. But with that being said, let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts on anything and everything that I talked about in this video. And if you are excited about Darkseid Season 4 on May the 30th, let me know also down in the comment section below, as I am done for the day, and I will see you in the next one.